I'm resilient. I can do hard things. I do things other people don't do. And once you have that, there's nothing you can't do.
We have to work with helping the people that choose to follow us manage their mindset. But it also starts, first of all, with where's ours?
Most people miss out on life because they're fearful and they don't jump in and they don't try things and they don't take the steps because they let fear control their decisions.
There's a buzzword that's been going around for the last few years. The buzzword is called mindset.
Oh,
And those who've been watching this show for a while and realize I look at words and I try to figure out and unpack what the heck does that mean? Like the word quality when Deming brought it into play. And then the whole the focus on the word culture was a big thing over the last 5 to 8 years. Well, mindset and wellness is coming into
yeah.
play. And that's the reason why I decided to invite Dan Staggs to join us in our conversation today. I met Dan a few years back, and I've just been intrigued by his walk. The founding partner of a company out of Seattle called iMatch, which is, one of the preeminent search firms in the technology and financial space. And he's also on this journey, and it's been a lifelong journey that has to do with health and wellness, and is actually building another company, another outreach on top of that, which is called Staggs Performance. And so I invited Dan to join us today to talk about this whole subject about mindset and wellness, because there's never more important time than in 2026 for us to be wrestling with that. So, Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate you having me. I'm super excited to just have a little chat with you.
Yeah. So let's start off with this concept of mindset. You and I have had a chance over the years to spend time talking about the power of mindset.
Yeah.
And why is that word so important to you?
I think it's a foundation that drives everything you do in life. I think it's easy to take the easy path and, you know, fall back on easier ways. But if your mindset's set, then there becomes less negotiation, right? You just kind of do where whatever your state is, what your identity is built from, that mindset carries you through the hard times. And we're all going to face a lot of ups and downs and hard times. We'll talk about plenty of that, I'm sure. But, how do you come back to kind of level and always keep up leveling and moving forward? And I think if you have the right mindset, it helps carry you through the tough times and the tough decisions. So how do you do that? For me, I think it's, you set your identity first. A lot of people do this in kind of the wrong order. They think, well, I'll achieve these things and then I'll feel confident and I'll feel successful. But that never really happens because you're telling yourself, someday I'll get there, and you never get there because you don't align with that. And so for me, I think it's all about making that decision up front, saying, this is who I am. And then once you've got that mindset set, your standards are, if you say you're someone who shows up, you show up. If you're going to be there on time, you'll be there on time. Like, I'm going to go to the gym at noon. Well, then you go to the gym at noon. You don't really just, some days you feel like going to the gym, some days you don't. If that's something that's important to you and you've made that decision, that's your mindset, this is who I am, then it just happens, right?
Yeah,
So
that's such an important aspect of it, because I remember we were having the conversation when I told you, I said, well, guess what? I've crossed the line. I'm diabetic now. And so now what's happened is the mindset, what you're saying, you said something important about that says it's less negotiation. And I call that
yes,
less remaking the same decision. In other words, before I go, do I want this sugar? Do I not want this sugar? Am I going to eat this now? And
right.
it's after you and I talked, I said, my breakfast every morning no longer is just a couple of fried eggs. My breakfast in
Yeah,
the morning is still high protein, but it's shifted over to chicken. And for the first time in life, Cajun boy eats vegetables for breakfast.
there you go.
So I'm eating carrots and tomatoes and bell peppers and onions for breakfast. And I'm going, but I don't know. I don't make the decision every day. I don't remake the decision every day, right?
Made it once.
Made it once. This is what I do, and so it's last night I cooked up my batch for the next 3 or 4 days and roll with it.
But
So,
how freeing is that?
they're
Every
huge.
morning when you wake up, you don't have to make these decisions. You don't have to go through the mental gymnastics of should I not, and
Hmm.
have to battle that, right? You just go right into, you know, you're focused on other things. You're taking that
That's
noise
right.
out of the system, right?
It just moves on to it. But now there's a difference, I think, in mindset and positivity thinking. What's your perspective on that? Is that the same thing, or are those two different buckets to drink out of?
I think it's easy to think positive, but that breaks down. When things get tough, how many people are really disciplined to stay on that and not let fear break that down or have negativity come in and then suddenly they're spiraling, they're back to where they were. That discipline to stay motivated and stay positive is fleeting if it doesn't isn't backed by a foundation. And that foundation is here's my standards, here's who I am, here's who I believe I am and where I'm going. And once you have that set, then yeah, you'll be positive, be optimism. It, you know where you're going, so it doesn't actually you don't even have to think it so positively. Like some people are trying to always like rile themselves up to be positive, but if you know where you're going, you're just an eternal optimist. You already know the outcome, and so once you've set the direction, you can just step back and just know that it's going to play out fine because you've seen it, you visualize it, you know it, and you can't control it anyway along the way. So releasing that control and just knowing like I'm going to fall back on what I can control. What can I control? My effort, my attitude, staying positive, my belief. And when things hit and those waves hit, I'm not going to, try to like negotiate. I'm not going to go backwards and, let it define me. I'm just going to stay going forward, keep my feet moving as I like to think, and it'll play out. And there will be ups and downs, and there'll be some good and some bad, but it's going to play out over time, and the outcome's going to be fine because I already know it. I already said it, and if it doesn't align exactly with what I said, that's okay too, because we don't always know where the path's going to take us, and so you roll with that, and you stay in that flow, and you know that my intentions are right. I've got the right energy aligned to it. I'm kind of big on energy and vibration, and I think that everything in the world is just energy. You know, this cup is just a bunch of energy. Me, you, whatever, table. And it's just waves and particles, and it can be formed and reformed and changed, right? And so, if you align that energy and you put it in the right direction, it'll go the right. It'll form into the right things. Now, if you align negative energy and you spend your time with fear, doubt, and worry, you're going to bring those into your world and change your path. But if you push that out and you can stay positive and aligned with where you want to go and what you're trying to accomplish, then that energy will just take you there. And if it doesn't, then it'll take you the place you're supposed to be going anyway.
Yeah, so it's oversimplifying this that by having this mindset that you're describing, you're focused on the results that you're after as opposed to the circumstances that you're in.
Yes.
You're focused on where you're headed, and then you just kind of deal with the circumstances. Uh, is I
Yeah.
mean, is that
You start with the end in mind, right? You always you set the intention and the state. You're like, for me, I like to just visualize, okay, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. And it's not always realistic even. It's like, I'm going to take this on. And I don't always think it through. Like when Mike calls and says, hey, you want to jump on a podcast and talk? I just say yes. Do I know what that entails? Do I know what the outcome's going to be from that? No, I don't know where it's going to take me, but Mike asked me. It's probably a good reason. Most people miss out on life because they're fearful and they don't jump in and they don't try things and they don't take the steps because they let fear control their decisions. So if you can eliminate that noise, say yes, and just see how it goes, things tend to work out, right? And so, yeah, you set that direction, and then you just along the way, up front. I was explaining, you're starting here and you're going to end here, right? Path never looks like a straight line. It looks a little bit like this, right? We're a lot of ups and downs along the way, and when it's down here, a lot of people want to quit. They want to jump off. They want to, you know, poor me, lots of excuses. But when, with the up here and it's above the line, things are going great. They want to beat their chest and talk about how amazing they are, and tell everyone all about it. But guess what? Then it's back, they get right size. But ultimately, you're going to end up here. And once you make that decision, if you know you're going to end up here, then nothing along the way is actually, this what's going to happen. You're prepared for all this. So these waves don't matter because you're just going to end up here anyway. And you can't control all this and all these things. I like how Matthew McConaughey's got this book, Green Lights, and I really love it because he talks about green or yellow lights and red lights, that's kind of below the line, these things that pop up and like test you and challenge you. And then green lights, everything's going great, right? And when you when you're in these yellow and red light scenarios, they're just green lights in making, right? They're just opportunities to build skills and learn and grow and like get you back on that path so that when you come through, you're even more prepared and more ready. And then you end up here anyway, right? So there's no bad news. There's nothing bad that can happen along the way, right? So really, why worry about it? Why try to control it? Just enjoy whatever's happening, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's kind of like the Stoics say, amor fati, right? Love your fate, the good, the bad, and the really ugly stuff, right? Because that's what shapes you. That's what's going to
Mhm.
give you the training, the skills to get there. And either way, you can't control it, and the outcome's going to be what the outcome is.
Yeah,
So,
because especially with your health and wellness, bend in life, it's when we've spoken about this subject, it's, it's those downturns, those obstacles that we're trying to work our way through. That's where we're building muscle. And that's because
yes,
that's the tension that's coming back at us. And what
yeah,
happens is the more tension that comes back and the more we have to fight through it, actually, the stronger that we get. But we gotta keep taking those steps. We gotta keep reaching into it. You gotta keep pushing along those lines. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I'm kinda curious in developing iMatch, when you and your partners started this business, it was only a thought, when y'all kicked it off. And today it's a predominant force in your marketplace.
Sure.
Where's this concept of mindset, where's that played out in your business?
I mean, candidly, it was super hard starting this business. I
Uh-huh.
tried to start the tech side of iMatch right after 9/11 and the dot-com crash. Not a lot of people trying to hire engineers at that time.
Mhm.
But
That's great planning on your part, by the way.
well, I knew it was like what we want to do long term. I'm doing with my buddies, and we're gonna have a great time doing it. So
That's right.
you don't worry about that. You trust in yourself. You believe. You know you're good at it, and you know it'll work out. You know, and so I've never had fear jumping into anything as long as I know what I'm capable of. I think everything comes back to belief and effort. And if you have those, there's nothing you can't do. If you believe that you have unlimited potential and you can do anything and that things will work out for you, guess what? They will. Um, that, taking it back a little bit, I grew up in a tougher scenario, right? I didn't have any. We grew up in a trailer on food stamps and no money in our family. No one ever, in my life had ever gone to college. No one suggesting these things around me. And so I had to figure out a lot of things for myself when I was really young. And thinking about this, like, I started doing things that I could control, which was my effort. Right. So I got these little jobs and I got a little go kart and a bike and a stereo system and all these things. At 9 years old, I was buying these things and working. And then I got into sports and I got into wrestling in particular, and it really shaped me because didn't matter how athletic or good you were specifically, if you worked harder than the next guy, you could win in wrestling. And so I just outworked everyone in before practices, late after school or after practices, you know, dieting, training hard, all those things so that I could be the best wrestler. And it was that one area where I learned like no matter what I put into effort, I can have anything I want, no matter what my circumstances are, right? So now I could control it. And I started building around that. And that kind of drove my belief system. And I had this weird scenario when I was young. I remember third grade is about when I started remembering, but I had this vision. And I always believed I was going to be super successful in life. And I saw myself with fancy cars and nice houses and beaches. And it made no sense for the lifestyle that I was growing up in
Mhm.
and the
And
people I was
especially at that
around.
age, that's the part, I mean, at that age, and you're already thinking, "That's crazy."
Yeah. But it's just like it was so sure in my head. There was zero doubt that this is who I be. And everything from there worked out. Not easy. I had to like really force things to happen. But along the way, I was always tested and there was always a path and I would always take the right fork, the right answer, the right scenario, the right decision always showed up at the right time to move forward. And it brought me to, you know, University of Washington, to certain career choices, meet my wife, to all these things. Everything's always played out along the way against all odds. But it didn't feel like that to me at the time because I had this incessive blind faith. It was, almost a naive optimism that everything was going to work out. And when you have that, there's nothing that can stop you because that you know where you're going. And you're so locked in on it. And so now that doesn't mean you don't have to wasn't just the universe providing this. I used to think I was charmed and everything came my way and things always worked out even when they shouldn't. I get in these car crashes or do these things and I'd survive and I shouldn't. And things were always looking out for me. But I realize now it was me creating a lot of that. And I'm sure there's another part to this, but also manifesting my outcome was really happening because of the effort and the belief that I would put into it. So once I locked that in and believed 100% where I was going, then I just moved that direction. And I didn't know the end result, but I knew good things were going to happen. So it gave me the work ethic and the discipline to I'd be the first guy in at work to turn on the lights and the last guy out every day, right?
Rudy.
Yeah, I would just outwork and outperform and outtry until it worked. And then eventually it would work, but it wasn't hard for me to put in all that effort. And
Hmm.
that's the one thing that I think people need to understand. When you're really passionate about something and you really believe in something, you know it's going to happen, that work becomes effortless
Hmm.
because you're just so locked in on where you're going that the out the outcome is what matters and getting there. And I'm doing this in two different businesses right now. I'm build mode, build mode, build mode, and barely sleeping, which is way against everything I teach health and wellness wise on my circadian rhythm. But the the key is I'm so passionate and so excited about what I'm building that it doesn't feel like work. I want to do it all the time. And I'm like, I need more hours. And that's when you're in the zone. That's when you're flowing, right? That's when it's effortless work, even though you're outworking everyone around you. And the cool part is when you're doing those things, the universe comes to you. The shortcuts happen. Suddenly doors are opening. People are bringing ideas. Circumstances are just happening. Intuition is bringing scenarios and the path gets easier. So you get from here to here faster because there's less
Hmm.
of the bumps and it's just shortening the timeline. Because it's coming to me versus me chasing it and forcing it and pushing it and oh, this is so hard. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's
Totally.
energy, that's alignment, that's vibration, that's things just pulling toward you, and that's a better path.
It totally is. I mean, I still remember the conversation that you and I had about starting off my day. My word for the year is not on the wall yet. My word for the year is abundance.
Mhm.
And you and I were talking about this last year, and I said, this is my word. And so I actually start my day off with a mindset of starting my day going, today I live in abundance. Now, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and abundance doesn't mean how much money do I have in the bank.
No,
Okay. Abundance is number one.
exactly,
How much abundance do I feel in love for my creator? How much love do I have for my wife?
right?
Abundance. How much abundance, how much love does she have for me? And just live into that.
Yes.
And then from a business standpoint, waking up every day, recognize I have an abundance of people like Dan Staggs in my life that I get a chance to
Mhm.
walk with.
Hey,
And
there
so
you go.
because of that, I'm meeting more people and those doors are opening. Now, is it divine destiny? Is it God opening the doors? Is it the outreach I'm doing? It's it's my effort
All those things.
is going down, not the
Yes.
amount of hours I put in, because my wife laughs and I shouldn't laugh too much. She says,
Mhm.
you spend a lot of time working, don't you? I went, no, because
It's
it
not work.
doesn't feel like work.
Right.
Uh, it doesn't. But I think that's the mindset you're talking about that where are you focusing your attention on and
Yes.
releasing this negativity that turns into baggage that we carry that drains us from an energy standpoint? I've got a question. As you were talking,
Yeah.
I was curious about this. As you started iMatch, and was you said 2011, right after 9/11, right?
No, oh, sorry, it was 2001 after the, .com crash, sorry.
.com bust. Okay,
We
2001.
started
Even
in
worse. I mean,
2000.
from
Yeah.
a technology standpoint, that's actually in the tech world that was really tough battle.
Yeah.
But so you started that. Well, and we're now 25 years further down the line. Where has this, where have you had to really use mindset to navigate something unexpected that has spanked you that tried to knock you guys off course? Anything come to mind?
Um, yeah, I mean,
Another way of asking, what's the biggest obstacle you guys have to had to overcome?
yeah, but even I think in the staffing industry, everyone's had the same issues, right? We've been through several downturns, '08, '09, and certainly through COVID. That was a massive test
Mm,
going offline, yeah, out of the office, trying to solve all that. And, wasn't a lot of business at that time. And so
right.
you had to stay positive, keep the team engaged, believe in the future. And so, for us, we just always fell back to team and culture and, what we're building and that confidence and belief in who we are, where we're going. So there's never a doubt that we would, pull through those things. And our team, we've never done any layoffs or anything. Our team always stood by us and we always stood by them and always have. And so I don't know, for us, it's our mindset is more around like we're building something amazing. We have great people and keep our culture really tight and invest in the people and things will work out. It, you can't control it. There's no sense stressing about it. And our business is a relationships game. So you just keep relationships, stay close to people. They may not have business for you now. They will eventually someday. And this is back to energy thing, right? Like if you're someone they like doing business with and they enjoy doing, then it's always going to come back around. My best sales guys they're just great with people and, people want to spend time with them because of their energy and what they give off and that vibration and that connection. And, as long as you treat people that way and they can see your intentions are good and what you're trying to accomplish and you're serving with the right reasons versus like, I just need more, build more ego, then everything comes through and it always works out. But again, we knew we were going to be tested. We've been tested multiple times. Now we're having our best. Last year's our best year. We're off even crushing this year more than that. And I haven't even told you about this, Mike, but I'm building some super cool tools right now with
You
a.
mentioned that too. Describe them a little bit if you want to.
Oh well, I mean, I think everyone's probably trying to solve recruiting with
Hmm.
AI and matching systems and technology to. But we're basically building this intelligence layer that sits above the CRM and the databases and the LinkedIn's and all the things from a recruiting process that basically does a lot of the decision making and the signaling. And I think signal is a really important thing, like in life and certainly in business and looking out for like what are the signals? Where's the market going? What's happening? Where are the candidates? Where are the clients? Where's the opportunities? And bringing that, and eliminating noise when you can take
Mhm.
kind of that contrast out of the equation, things become real clear and real obvious where to go spend your time and your energy. And from a business standpoint, we're doing that with the software that maps all the potential clients and all existing clients, maps all potential candidates and certain targets and pools and ICP areas, and then does all the advanced scoring and like tells you, okay, here's the people you talk to, here's the clients you reach out to. But then it keeps learning. It's got these learning loops that keeps like re relearning like what ICPs, what target candidates, what profiles work best
Mhm.
for which clients, how the process has been going. And it learns from it, which messagings to send, how those are going, all that. So anyway, I think it's going to be a game changer for our industry, certainly for our business, and how we will operate there. But I got into this 3 weeks ago and thought, you know what, this is something we need. This guy I hired Chris, who's thinks, more and from an AI and a big perspective. He just opened my eyes and he's like, "Hey, we need a tool like this." And so I was like, "Okay, I'll just go build one. How hard could that be?" So I started in thinking it'd take me a couple of days. Now I'm 3 weeks in. I'm probably halfway there, and I've spent 15 hours a day coding this thing. Me
Mhm.
coding means AI coding, but me giving it
You got in the
intelligence
process.
and driving it, right? But it's going to be amazing. And I think the key is I was fearless that I could go build it. I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know what the outcome would be. And now it's morphed into something way bigger and better than I ever thought and may change our whole company trajectory, right?
Massive.
but I had to be fearless. I had to be someone who just takes things on and doesn't worry about the outcome or, you know, overthink it to even attempt it. And then trust me, there's been many opportunities to quit along the way. And
Sure.
where I'm like, why am I doing this? And this is really hard. But I just know it's the right thing. I know this is part of the path. It came to me for a reason. I say yes to it. I have this new thing that I do. It's called the surrender experiment. But if something pops up, comes into my life, there's usually a reason because I've filtered out so much noise and I have so much like alignment of what I'm looking for and who I am and try to stay in like that gratitude and kind of serving mindset. And with meditating every morning, I just feel like whatever comes is coming for a reason. And so I say yes, because
Hmm.
why not? What what's the worst thing that's going to happen, right? You know, it's going to teach me something. I'm going to go through it, whatever. So you call, I say yes. The software idea pops up, I say yes. Now, sometimes maybe this will get me, we'll see, maybe this will get me in trouble sometime. But like so far, I'm trusting intuition. I'm trusting that things will work. And then
Hmm.
I'm taking risks, calculated risks with hard effort that you have to put in the work, but, and then allow it to, play out.
Yeah, that's an important message. I think Dan, you're talking about has to do with, the reason I ended up as a speaker and that profession was, I was having massive panic attacks, and I had desire. I wanted to because I went to a Toastmasters meeting because one of my bosses said you should go do that, and I
Yeah.
did that. And I said, man, I'd like to do more of this. My problem was I I was really afraid of having a panic attack, and I got to a point where if somebody asked me to speak, the answer was yes, because if I didn't say yes quickly, I would talk myself out of it from a fear
Right.
standpoint, and so I developed that same mindset. I will tell you the multi-million dollar mistake I made was in the staffing industry. There's for those of you who don't know it intimately, there's this thing called payrolling, where a company actually gives you people and you put them on your payroll, and you take care of all the administrative, the employer of record, and then then we had one of our clients that we were doing some payrolling, but they wanted us to do and take it all on company wide, and we're going, but this is going to be awesome.
Hmm.
And we did. And then they said, what we need for you to do is we have a bunch of people working overseas in all these different countries. I mean, if you do all the payrolling, I said, well, we can't fund that, and we don't. How do we do converting from, Chinese yan, what is it called, yuan or whatever, and all
Yeah.
this other
Right.
stuff, the dollars and stuff. I'm going now. And besides that, with our spread that we were charging was in the U.S. was this, and the cost of doing that was going to be this, and we knew that there wasn't enough money for us to do that.
Yeah.
So we said no, and then they said, okay, fine. They ended up finding somebody else who tripled their rate. And I found out that I could have made one phone call to ADP and said, ADP, would you cover this for me, handle the payroll and take care of all the system process and do
Yeah.
all the currency translations? And they said, not a problem. They would have charged me. I could have put an overlay on top of that. And it was literally more than $1 million a year in business
Way back then.
back then. And it was like, it's exactly what you're talking about. I didn't have the confidence
Yeah.
to
You
that.
just
I'll
gotta find
figure
out
it
your way.
out. And it's
Figure it out.
because what I knew, there was no answer in it. Like you in this, you don't have an answer, but as every time you take a step, every time you try something, it opens the door knowledge wise. It increases
Yeah.
your perspective and your position. I think, and that's where this mindset of opportunity, mindset of gratitude, mindset of abundance, mindset of I'm more capable than I give myself credit for, because we drag this baggage, this luggage with us along the times of the
Yeah.
stumblings and the pain or whatever. So when
What's the
you look
point
at what
is,
you go ahead.
I just think that, most people, they have these limits on their beliefs and they just, we've been shaped by our life and we think that's who we are. And but like, what makes us different from the billionaires or the people that have built this company or that company? Nothing. I mean, honestly, they're not smarter or whatever, right? They just took risks, they went for it, it worked out. And so you have to know that, like, we are, as a species, we are capable of doing anything in this world. We can build anything. So just trust it and go for it because we are unlimited, we have unlimited potential. And the only thing holding us back is fear.
Hmm.
And so we've got to find a way not to hesitate, right? And that's where you go back to like gratitude and being in that emotion of I'm good, I'm happy, everything's good. And then honestly, it's kind of weird. Like the more you like let go and just focus on the inner, like I'm good and be grateful for what you have and what you want to have happen, then suddenly like everything just starts coming to you in faster, easier fashion because the universe hears, I'm good. I don't need any more. It says, great, here's more. But if you're like, oh, I'm really stressed. I don't know if I can have this. It says, great, coming right up. You can't have that. Right. So like your thoughts create things and they mostly drive your emotions. And once you can change your inner state with your emotion, then anything's possible. But that's the challenge is most of us have this self-talk, this person in the back of our head. We have this manic commentator that talks to us all day long and lies to us half the time, right? And it's like,
Hmm.
oh, you can do this. No, you can't do this. And most of us listen to that voice way too much, and it's not on your side most of the time. And
Hmm.
when you can step back and realize you're not that voice, you're the person inside listening to that voice. Think about that because if you're not talking, how can you be that voice? But anyway, point is, if you can pull yourself away from that and realize, this voice is just, distracting me and I can set wherever I want to go and I can do whatever I want, then there's no limits.
Yeah. So where's the let's talk about this stag performance. Where does our physical, is this an important message that you preach about? It's the physical part of our life. Where's training built your mental edge?
Oh, I think it's the foundation of how I ever got here, right? You kind of started with like the wrestling and the effort. And then I realized, all the way through life, like, if you show up physically, honestly, you kind of command space and people respect it and whatnot, and it gives you confidence and it plays into everything else. Not to mention help you live a long life and be really healthy. And um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's for me, it's where I can go grind and put in effort, right? And earn hard outcomes. And I think that builds your reward centers and teaches you to do hard things. And how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And so I've learned that, like, for me, going to the gym and training, or, I used to be a high level CrossFit competitor, and now I'm doing a high rocks competition, pro competition in New York in next month. And I've done all these, marathons, climb mountains, triathlons, all these physical feats. And they're always just a way to go prove I can go do something hard. And that reinforces the reward centers that, okay, I can do hard things. And then doing hard things becomes easy. Like for me, I cold plunge every morning. We've talked about this many times. I do a lot of things. My morning routine is what sets my day. And since I shifted my morning routine, my life is exponentially getting better, just to be clear. But when I cold plunge every morning, do I want to go cold plunge every morning? No one wants to jump in that cold and torture himself every morning, right? But what it does is it proves to me I'm resilient. I can do hard things. I do things other people don't do. And once you have that, there's nothing you can't do. I've already done the hardest thing I'm going to do all day. Right. And I think that most people have these focus issues. Right. And it's more about are they not motivated? Motivation doesn't have a lot to do with it. Right. It's can they stay focused on a task long enough to see it through and accomplish it. And if you do and you try hard and you just keep working at it, you'll always get there. Just consistency and routine and effort and then learning and adjusting, you'll always get there. But very most people have a hard time with that because they get distracted. They jump off. They're doing different tasks. And we have this bigger challenge now, right? I mean, dopamine is like the number one thing driving our results, I think, and our reward center. I mean, I've learned a lot about health and wellness in the body, and it's all about, you know, all of your hormones and how they operate throughout the day, right? You got to get up with your cortisol, delay your coffee, get out, see your sunlight, get your electrolytes in, do all these things to start your energy flows and all of your bodily processes, your metabolism, all these things, turn them on. But like when you jump in a cold plunge or you go out and you get sunlight first thing in the morning, that's the most natural way to have this smooth dopamine curve where like you're providing on this reward and energy centers in your brain and turning all that on. It goes through your eyes and the sunlight hitting your retinas. And I get real technical on that if you want, but the reality is when you're doing those things, then you're creating dopamine. But most people are using quick hit, cheap dopamine to run their day, right? Screens and scrolling and, all these notifications and junk mail, things that are coming at them all day long. And it's easier to do, oh, I'm going to go to this task. No, I'm going to go back over here. I got to go check that and get distracted by all these things. And you can't stay focused enough to solve whatever it is you're driving to do. So I don't even check my phone most days during the day. My wife's always like, "You got 8 messages. Where have you been?" Like, and it's because I don't want that driving my day, right? I'm not trying to like check the sports scores all day or whatever. I'll do that when I'm ready to go do that. But if you can eliminate that noise, then because if you do the cheap dopamine, your brain stops. You need a lot more of it to get the same reward and emotion, right? And so
Mhm.
now it's just gets watered down. And so you need more and more and more, but none of it's moving you towards your goals and what you're trying to accomplish. So how do you reset that? You reset that by doing hard things. Training, like working out, shows your brain, ooh, hard work, reward. I earned this. This is different. This feels good. Same thing with sunlight, same thing with cold plunge, same with whether it's dieting or whatever you're doing. Like do hard things and you'll be able to do more hard things. Do
Mhm.
cheap dopamine things, and you can't do hard things.
Yeah, that is so important because what I wrote you talking is that the physical part of our life really is what fuels our energy. And
Yes.
what happens is that if we're trying to just muster up energy to go and do things, it's especially as we get older, the curve goes down. What
Yeah.
happens is, and I because I'm living that out now, and I'm trying to
Takes a lot more to get that in. Yeah.
I'm understanding it. But part of it, it's not just because of age. I mean, this gray hair is earned, but
Mhm.
it has to do with the fact that when we sold our business, gosh, what has it been, 14, 12, 13 years ago when I started this journey. Somebody asked, are you retiring now? And no, I just started up another business called Lighting the Path. And what's happened is all the ground I've been laying, you know, has been building. And now I've got more things that are going on. So I have to take the physical part of my life and do a better job of managing it, dealing with it, fueling it.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a great job. You get your morning walks, and you've been getting healthier, and you're getting all your blood
It's,
sugar
it,
back in line, and
it's moving
all.
up.
But that
My
becomes
wife,
easy with
yeah.
routine, right? The consistency. I mean, that's everyone thinks everything's so Herculean, like, oh, I don't know if I could be as a shape as you, Dan. Well, that's not the point. Like, just start with something. Start
Yeah,
moving your feet.
I gotta tell you, I haven't had a chance to I started something now 'cause I bought my membership to the gym so I can go be like
Yeah.
Dan, and but I still I've only been once, but,
Yeah. Wow.
those
You
couple
started
weeks,
it.
but no, but here's the other thing I did is I've got these banisters because I work on suite 200, second floor of my house, but starting 3 days ago, as I come upstairs now, as I stop and I not lean over the I grab the banister, and I'm doing push-ups
Oh, let's
against
go.
just against the banister. Just I mean, it's
Yeah.
lightweight stuff, but for somebody who
I
hasn't
was.
lifted weights in a long time. But
It's a
now it's
big
like
deal.
I'm going, now I did 3 sets yesterday. I'm going,
Getting
well,
easier. It's getting easier. Yeah.
and so now I can't wait this weekend to get to the gym and go hit them. So it's those
Got to
steps
start.
that we take when we're trying to do a payroll change, a new
Yeah.
CRM system, which is the journey I've been on for the last 2 years, and so that's rolling. We were talking before. I now have a new podcast system that is not as easy for me to use as Zoom,
Yeah.
but we made the plunge. We're taking steps. We're figuring it out. This is being broadcast now and recorded on Riverside. I'll give them a plug.
There you
But
go.
but I'm learning the bells and whistles and how to push it. That's why I love your message about when we're trying to do things in our life and how do we stretch ourselves to become and quiet down that voice, that negative voice that disguises itself as trying to protect us. That's that negative voice, is that
Yeah.
fear-based voice that's trying to protect us. You spent some time talking to I think is it your son, their
Mm.
lacrosse team, yeah,
Started with my daughters.
daughters, yeah, the lacrosse team. And I think it's a great way to kind of put a cap on this subject because it's real world stuff. And you spent some time talking to them about mindset. Tell the end of the story about how did they end up finishing their season?
Well, we started last year with my daughter, her team started beginning of the season, and then toward the end, when they got in the playoff run, we kept meeting and talking. We started with teaching them about how to how to manifest an outcome, right? Law of attraction, what you say, what you do, how you feel that creates things, and bringing that into their lives. And they loved it. It gave them a belief that, okay, we did a visualization exercise, a bunch of mantras, and they saw themselves winning the state championship up front. And then when they got there, it wasn't so stressful. They were prepared for it. They'd already seen it, and they were calm, and their nervous systems were calm. And I want to get back to nervous systems at some point, but they then were able to execute, and they won the state championship against a team that beat them the year before in the finals, and and everyone played out of their mind, looked right. Then the boys team heard about this, and they were going to the state championship. They said, "Hey, can you come in and give us a presentation?" So we went in, we did that, and we did the same thing. We did all the visualization. We did a lot of gratitude kind of exercises, like, feel the energy of the team and what they're there and what they're grateful for. And this is going to be okay either way, but let's go do this together and see the win and feel it. And then they went out there, and their coach told me afterwards, I've never seen these guys play so relaxed, so assured of themselves, and just in the outcome. And they went out and they did a great job and won the state championship as well. So anyway, they invited me back this year to start the season, giving them a big presentation. So I shifted a little bit and kind of went through that. And like this year was more about making the decision. And I said, I helped them understand that they decide today if they're going to win the state championship, not in May, right? And it was about most people want to see how things go. And if I do well, then I'll believe I'm a good player. And then if that goes well, then I'll change my identity and think and then I'll be a good player. That doesn't happen, right? You basically have to decide I am an elite player and I am going to win a championship. And I am someone who does this. And I'm using the word I am because we say, I want, the universe hears, nope, not going to happen, pushes away. I hope, yeah, maybe. So once you start believing that you are that person, then things fall in line. So I taught them that, and then as a team, if the individuals all decide that they're that person, then the team can't be stopped. So we talked a lot of that about that, but we also talked a lot about like how to roll the right film at the right moment, right? So a lot of your particular activating system picks up on threats and challenges. And so your mind gets involved and starts telling you, don't miss this shot. Don't do this. And guess what? You miss that shot. Coach is watching and you tighten up and you don't play loose and in the flow. And then like things aren't working. But then you flip it and you get in that scenario. And I taught them how to like use a physical cue, like squeeze your fist, take a deep breath, roll a new film. And when you're in that moment and you're in that tight situation, the game's on the line, you're all stressed. If your nervous system's not aligned, you're not relaxing on the flow, you're not, belief, you get tight and you make mistakes, right? But if you are like, okay, switch the film, see yourself making the shot, see yourself winning the championship, take the deep breath, boom. Then it just happens, right? Now you're flowing naturally instead of trying and forcing and tightening. And so learning some mental exercises to teach you to just stay in flow and not try to stress so much about the outcome that you prevent it from happening and just know it, feel it, and then release control, right? And let it play out because it'll be fine.
Yeah,
So these have been
it's a
some of the
critical thing. Yeah, it's you're reminding me of my basketball coach in high school where we had to stand to the free throw line and shoot free throws, and you'd have to make so many in a row before we could quit and have not run laps.
yeah.
And he finally got me to a point where I went to being a miserable free throw shooter. I was 85% plus, but it was because of the rhythm. To put the toes on the line, bounce the ball twice, take a deep breath, cock the up and release the ball. And I wasn't thinking about making the shot. I was getting into flow, getting in the rhythm,
Yeah.
moving along those lines there.
I love the word rhythm, because I think rhythm's kind of critical to overperform chaos, right? Like,
Hmm.
so the more you can create structure and systems around something, then it just flows versus like, you want predictable performance, right? So you want that structure. So I've tried to build systems into everything I do. And I think that rhythm is what accelerates results. For instance, like, I got a morning routine, right? And it doesn't change. I do the same thing every morning. Takes almost 2 hours, but it's prepares me for the day. It knocks out all my learning, education, meditation, gets my kind of nervous system set so I'm in perfect flow when I go to work. I'm ready to perform. And I do all the kind of health stuff. And then at lunch, I got my kind of like workout and fitness stuff that is I block off because I know it's important to me and do those things. But these are things I do. But I think like in my health and wellness business, the supplement system I'm building is called the Rhythm Stack. And it's all about following a system throughout the day because your body aligns with the circadian rhythm, sun rising and shutting down, and timing and performance are all important. You're in these growth modes throughout the day, and then you're in like recovery and repair modes. And you have to follow a system to fully manage and optimize that system. And it's like anything in life. But once you get that rhythm, then you're like sharp and everything's flowing and you're sleeping well. So you're waking up sharper and now you can work out harder and you make better food decisions and performance decisions during the day and you're sharper at work. And now like that's coming to you easier. So the more healthy you are and the more energy you have, like the more outcomes you're getting, because now like you can produce at a much higher rate, 2, 3x. So it makes you want to do more of that and it just feeds on itself, but it becomes a system with this rhythm and this thing that's feeding into itself. And then now that's what I'm trying to build, in this recruiting intelligence layer system. It's just a systematic approach that follows the same thing. And the more you can build these into your day, the more you don't have the chaos, you don't have the negativity, you don't have the opportunities to not do things and for things to break down because essentially it's built. You just follow the routine. And guess what? It's kind of nice because now you just show up and do it. You don't have to overthink. You release kind of control of the outcome. So now we're not stressed. We're just like in the flow and things are going to work or they're not. But this is what I do. This is my system. I keep my feet moving and I get to the end and then things work out. And then I level up because now my identity shifted again because I started with belief and then I had those thoughts and those turned emotions and I said actions and those actions created different behaviors and those behaviors gave me some evidence, some outcomes that happened. Now you get this momentum, you start building some confidence, things are rolling. And then you're like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. Oh, yeah, I showed up at the gym 5 days in a row. Oh, I did my push-ups on the thing. Now you're like, oh, I'm disciplined. I can do these things. And the next thing you know, your identity levels up. And you're like, I'm someone who does this. Now I have this brand. Oh, I'm a fitness guy. I'm a healthy guy. I'm someone who does these things. Then other people start seeing you as, hey, this is someone who does these things. He's different. Something about him. Mike's looking good. He's going to the gym every day. And then you start just keep that's how it keeps rolling, right? And you just keep leveling that up and leveling that up. But you just have to keep changing belief and then keep your thoughts, keep your head out of it, manage the guy in your head, keep your emotions tied to that because that's what drives behavior, the emotional connection to it. And that's where you get back to your gratitude. What are you thankful for? What are we doing? Where am I at? All those types of things to keep your emotion in line. And then the outcomes will just take care of themselves.
I love this, Dan. I can't think of a more important message that
Yeah.
we need right now, and especially leaders. What happens is we have to work with helping the people that choose to follow us manage their mindset, which is their
Yeah.
focus and how they respond to things. But it also starts, first of all, with where's ours? What's the mindset we bring in play? And I want to thank you for the time and your passion on this subject. People think I did this so that this message could go out to the audience. I did this for me today. I needed a shot of Dan, and there's so much stuff in here that has helped me to just sort of continue to calibrate, not recalibrate.
Yeah.
It's especially the part about, but the more we can manage the systems in what we do, the more we can keep keep our feet moving, which fits real well with the book that I'm writing right now, Move the Ball. It's if we can keep
Yeah.
our feet moving as opposed to what I call getting stuck on the couch. It's
Right.
that place, whenever we're just, we're zoned out, we're on the
Yeah.
couch, we don't know what to do. But if we can but stay in motion, that what happens is that it's start the process, the journey is going to reveal itself. Start the journey, the process will reveal itself. So, Dan,
Yeah.
this is awesome. How do people find out more about what you're doing. But let's talk about the wellness side of it. You got some stuff you're putting out. What's the best way to find you?
Well, it's called Healthy Mindset by Dan on
Okay.
Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or TikTok as well. So that I've got a social presence there. And then I'm starting to announce there. But if you go to getstaggs.com, that's where I'm showing some of the products and what they do and the rhythm stack and how, but I think in August, maybe I'll be able to release all those to the market. So that'll be pretty exciting. I think they're game changers as far as health and wellness. I take them anyway. I've built them. What I realized is different stages of life, Mike. In the beginning, you're just trying to prove yourself and do all this stuff. And then, kind of go through this work phase where you're building all these things. And then the kind of in this third block, I feel like, well, my story. Like I had a kidney transplant, 3 years ago, right? And prior to that, I got kidney disease, and I was really lucky that my wife was an amazing match and pulled this off. But when that happened, it's a wake up call, right? Because life becomes finite, and what you accomplish becomes more important all of a sudden, and you're worried a little bit more about, okay, I'm less about building and achieving and winning all the time. I'm like, what is all this for? What's the spiritual side of this? But am I having an impact and serving and doing the right things? But like, am I giving back? Is this work value for other people? And so that was what you talk about, green lights, right? Like I thought the kidney disease was a real red light and a stopping block for me. And I've got through it. And I realized later it was the best thing ever happened to me, green light, because it taught me all about, like, I had to, when I came out of this, I want to get back to my fitness level, back to my health level, get my mind right. It's foggy. And so I started doing everything I could as far as my diet, my workout, my breathing, meditating, cold plunging, all these things to get my health back on track. And I accidentally did was became an expert in optimizing human health and mindset and body and like how it all works together to give you like this outcome that you want. And so that led me to building a system of my own that I realized I can help a lot of people with this. I started like teaching and consulting and helping friends and family on how to solve some of these issues. And then I was like, well, I have these systems. And I was like, well, how do I get it to other people? Because they could really use this. So it guided me toward building a system because I wanted this to have meaning. I wanted it to be something other people can get out. Same thing with this recruiting tool, something that other people can really get from. So now I love doing the work, but the work is more passion toward like the outcome. I don't care so much about the what I'm gonna achieve from it, the fruits of the labor. It's more like it's giving me inner like happiness and
Yeah,
driving
because
that piece.
it's about, well, where's Dan going to have impact?
Yeah. And now
Where's Dan going
that's
to have
more the
impact?
focus. But since I kind of shifted to that, now the universe says, sure, you have enough and you're happy. And now more and more just keeps coming. And it's coming at this accelerated rate. And it's because my intentions shifted, which is super
Hmm.
interesting to me because I was always about me and ego and drive and build. And it's becoming more about like not that. And now suddenly there's this acceleration happening. So I think if anyone, can pick up from that, it's like try to like control your nervous system, do things for the right reason. There's word equanimity, try to like keep the inside calm no matter what's happening on the outside, right? So like we're all tested and there's a storm coming at you, but if you can keep that inside, like always just focused and, joyful and full of gratitude and calm no matter what, knowing that the outside doesn't matter, your path is what it is, then everything's going to work out. I mean, I love
Yeah.
the story, we're just here sitting on a spinning rock in the middle of nowhere. And the earth is, 93 million miles away from the sun. And you could fit 1.3 million earths inside the sun. And that sun is 4.2 light years away from the next closest star system. So we're just a small thing. There's hundreds of millions of stars in that galaxy and hundreds of and up to trillions of galaxies in the system. So how small are we? We're just this tiny little thing, 8 billion people in this world. So people get worried about this email or that thing or whatever's happening. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Step away from all that and realize control your inside, control what you're happy about, your joy and your connection and what you're doing. Try to serve, do well, That's how you move forward in life. And the rest kind of just starts flowing to you. And so when it doesn't, just come back to that and don't worry about the outcomes. Surrender and just let your path unfold because
Hmm.
it's always going to go the right direction.
Yeah, keep taking steps. Keep taking steps. Dan,
Taking
thanks so
steps.
much for your time and your heart. I look forward to more conversations, friend.
All right, Mike. Good chatting. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us today on Lighting the Path, Strategies for Tomorrow's Leaders. If anything in this podcast speaks to you, if I've challenged you, or if you want to spend time digging into this subject a little deeper, or if you disagree with me, reach out. My contact information is on our website, lightingthepath.net, or email me at mike@mikelejeune.com. Also, look for me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect our networks. Keep lighting the path for those who choose to follow you. It's more than a responsibility, it's an honor.